With that, we now move on to the panel 2 for the day. So the topic of the discussion is keeping up with the changing dynamics of the Indian education system, along with balancing of ROI and pedagogical impact. Please do note that the panel discussion floor would be open for a Q&A session later. So this is Maharashtra's Educator Summit and Awards 2023, ladies and gentlemen, which is hosted by Education Today, powered by Address Health. Our gold partners are Sivom, Singhania Quest Plus, Live Live Education, Kidzania India, and EdHR Recruitments. Our associate partners are Valid Initiatives, DAX Inc., SAR Education Private Limited, Open Door, Chakreview, and Adventure. As you can see, we are now moving on to our next segment, that is the panel discussion number 2 for the day. And very shortly, we will have the panelists on stage. Just a reminder to all the award winners, please do help us with your media bites at the media booth, which is right outside on the right hand side of the ballroom. So the topic, as I mentioned earlier, for this panel discussion number 2 is keeping up with the changing dynamics of the Indian education system, along with balancing of ROI with pedagogical impact. Allow me to introduce the panelists. The first panelist, who is also the moderator for this discussion, is Mr. Ananth Krishnan, CEO of Kalorex Group of Institutions, a target-oriented professional with 25 plus years of experience in techno-commercial and operational leadership roles in the field of education. Good exposure in starting and operating educational institutions, right from the drawing board and establishing them into a profit venture. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Let's have a round of applause for Mr. Ananth Krishnan. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce Mr. Brijesh Karia, the COO of Singhania Quest Plus. So Dr. Brijesh Karia is an education evangelist and a seasoned professional in the education domain. With an illustrious career of 22 exemplary years in the education space, Dr. Brijesh Karia has become a renowned and revered name in the education industry. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Next up, with immense pleasure, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Bharat Mallik, the chairman of AryaGurukul. He is a well-known edupreneur with vast experience in this field. He is the founder and chairman of Education Today Foundation, which has a chain of schools and preschools under its banner, namely St. Mary's High School, Kalyan East, AryaGurukul at Kalyan East and Ambarnath, Little Aryans Pre-Kindergarten, and Arya Global Research and Training Institute. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Next up, with immense pride, I would invite on stage Ms. Abha Meghe, the director of Meghe Group of Schools. She is a visionary director, immensely committed to nurturing 21st century skills, fostering holistic development, and shaping responsible citizens. She is a successful strategist, transforming schools and empowering teachers to unlock the highest potential of students. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Next up, I would like to invite on stage Ms. Devyani Mungali, Director of Sanskriti School, Pune. She is one of the renowned educationists in the country, and she has made a major contribution in revolutionizing Pune's education culture. Apart from her profound work in the field of education, Ms. Devyani is also an avid artist, a painter, and a Bharatnatyam dancer. Sanskriti is not only known for successfully producing brilliant students, but it concentrates most of its efforts on developing the next generation of India under the guidance of Mrs. Devyani. A very warm welcome to you, ma'am. Well, over to Mr. Ananth Krishnan now to please take forward the panel discussion. Just a note that the discussion is for about 35 minutes, which includes the Q&A session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Great pleasure. When they first get in touch with you, they say 1 hour. Then when the agenda comes, it becomes 50 minutes. Then when the name is there on the card, it becomes 40 minutes. And then when you come on stage, it becomes 35 minutes. Then you are also looking at your watch because you have a flight to catch. I say 25 minutes then. So that's how it goes. Anyway, I'll not be between the awardees and the awards. So I think we are all disturbing them between the coming in between. So nevertheless, a very nice and interesting topic of the day. We all have it in our minds and hearts, but most of us are not wanting to speak about it. Vibha and Anil, they've been kind enough to bring it on table. That's the only difference, right? And a very nice panel also. Abha ji, Bharat ji, Brijesh ji, Devyani ma'am. And I think Shiv sir is not here, but nevertheless, we'll miss him through the session. So, if you've ever heard of Benjamin Franklin, father of the modern United States, he said, investment in knowledge pays the best interest. How many of us believe it here? Any hands, any takers? You'll have to lift it a bit high. The light is a bit low there. Yeah, all right, superb. So I also believe in it, right? An economy which is based on knowledge flourishes. How many of us are here for it? How many of us feel the statement is true? The economy which is based on knowledge flourishes. US, Japan, Germany, South Korea, Israel, Singapore, Switzerland, Finland and Canada. And we are trying to add ourselves as a country for the last 20-25 years into this particular list, right? So if you talk about this country, IT, ITES, software development, education research, including the IITs and the IIMs, startups, ecosystems, skilled workforce, digital transformation, training and skill development. These are the key factors or the players which are instrumental in making this country a knowledge economy. But the progress of a knowledge economy will depend only if you're able to sustainably carry on with the efforts and continue investing in education. So education, research and innovation in one bracket, and a continual investment is required in this field, right? All of us agree till here? Yes? All of us agree? I'm not proceeding if you say no or yes. Tell them you don't respond back. So the moment we talk about investment, the next thing that comes to our minds, we all are mostly principals and founders and directors here, right? So the next thing that comes into our mind is ROI. And if you have to Google ROI out, it means return on investment, a measure, a performance measure used to evaluate the efficiency / profitability of investment relative to its investment cost. Greek for most of us, at least for educators it is Greek, isn't it? The key word is performance measure. Now when it comes to performance measure, we as educationalists, our performance measure is performance of the student in the classroom, performance of result in the board examination, performance of satisfaction in terms of my teacher, my parents, in terms of their satisfaction compared to my next school, right? For us, that is performance, right? So the question now comes is education a profitable venture? Or if I need to settle it down, is education a measure of ROI? Is profitability in education the only measure for ROI, or are there other measures to it? Other measures being quality of academics, student and parent satisfaction, teacher quality knowledge, infrastructure facility, community engagement, innovation technology, extracurricular activity, diversity and inclusions, right? So this is the topic of the day. So I'll go straight away to the questions, right? And I'll take the question first to our senior gentleman here. The wants of a school are ever growing, sir. Fee is a limited factor. In places like Gujarat, MP, UP, Maharashtra, Assam, Delhi, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh, Kerala, we have the FRC playing, which gives you a cap also. Like for example, in Gujarat, you really can't do much about it. We come from Gujarat, that's why I'm talking more of Gujarat. Like for example, our school has a fee cap of about 65,000 rupees, the main school, whereas it was at about 85,000 rupees earlier. But the wants are unlimited. The wants are unlimited. How do you bring in a financial discipline, one, and how much of a resource planning do you think is important? Two questions to you, sir.
Once again?
The wants are unlimited, the fee is limited, right? How do you play it in such a way that you're able to give the best through financial discipline and resource planning?
First of all, good afternoon to all of you. This session is a little difficult because people have just taken their lunch and you are here. So we'll try to make it as interesting as possible. As far as we know, all states in India are now under regulations, under Fee Regulation Act. And the best part, I feel Maharashtra has been one of the best where there is a discipline, and till today, the cases in for the Fee Regulation Act, people have not gone much because it is amicably understood, discussed in the PTA. The saddest part in this entire process is, I want to go and have a dinner in this hotel and the menu card is given to me and the price has to be decided by me. Is that possible? It's not possible because there are expenses, there are fixed costs, there are variable costs, and then you have to follow rules and regulations which are very important for the functioning. Coming to your question, fee is the only source in private sector where you collect that money and you have to function in it. So before you start the term, 99% you know your situation for the next financial year, and in the Fee Regulation Act, you are given 2 years time to increase your fee. After every
Correct.
2 years, you can increase the fee.
Correct.
So looking into this, you know the figures, you know the hits. Mostly over the experience that we have, out of 100 rupees that we have, 50 to 55 rupees goes in the salary, depending on the school, locations, and parameters. 10% to 7% goes in the rental model if you are on a rental model, correct? And if you build up the entire thing, I don't think the word profit has to be used in education because the word profit makes the whole problem.
We'll call it surplus.
You call it surplus. So you have to work on surplus, how you can make your school functional. So to that, as mentioned, that if you have a good budgeting and you have a good in-house team where you can evaluate your situations, increments have to be given every year to the teachers. I just want to add one thing, that is, in this topic is what we are talking about, the change and the dynamics in education. The changes are continuous, and we all remember the biggest challenge which came to this century was COVID era.
COVID.
And in the COVID era, I just want to say, let's give a big hand to our teachers who were the best adapter in education in the world. They adapted themselves so well to the situation that education was continued and there was no discontinued. Whatever resources they had, we were blessed that we had internet connections. So we are one of the best country which has proved in pandemic that we are into adaptability. And adaptability can only come when you're flexible to your thought process.
Very nice, sir. Very nice.
That's what I
Very
was
nice,
saying.
very nice. So this was Mr. Bharat Mallik, Chairman of the AryaGurukul Kalyan East. Ladies and gentlemen, give him a big hand of applause, please. Thank you very much. He had two precise takeaways, right? One takeaway is adaptability. So keep your adaptability curve flexible and open. Be adaptable at all times. That's his first takeaway. Second takeaway was a very nice takeaway. He subtly said, if I can understand that correctly, sir, he subtly said, have your count on numbers correct. Have the count on the graph correct. You have to know what percentage of salary, what percentage of what expenses you can do to keep that word surplus alive, if I can, sum it up that way, sir. I take the same discussion further to Ms. Devyani Mungali, if I have pronounced it. Mungli, right, superb. So, ma'am is the founder of the Sanskriti Group of Schools in Pune. Educationalists somewhere, at least I feel, or being an educationalist myself, I'll not say are not very good at numbers, but are more towards pedagogy. If you ask me, I would be more concerned, like for example, the last book that we did here, the concern is it should reach out to parents more than what cost you pay for it. So as a company, I'm willing to spend from my pocket and ensure that it reaches the parents so that the good thing happens to the parent and the child. So that's the mindset that we carry as academicians, right? But somewhere the ROI factor is a different ballgame altogether. So how do you balance this pedagogy and the ROI factor together? That's the question to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all my fellow panelists and the esteemed audience. There has to be a very fine balance between financial viability and educational excellence that we want to achieve. And in these changing times where everything is shape-shifting so quickly, the teachers, the demands of the teachers, the requirements are different, of the students, of the parents, the society, the community, the nation. So everyone is thinking differently. The policymakers are thinking differently. What the children today require is very different from what we receive from our schools. So it is very, very essential that we create safe, nurturing environments where children learn all these qualities of resilience, how to face challenges, not to give up, which we see. We have a whole generation who call themselves as Gen Z, and they are the most vulnerable children and youth and preteens and teens that we have. So it's very important to have spaces where, apart from what we are imparting from books or the curriculum or the syllabus or the board we have chosen, we give them spaces where they can interact, express themselves, learn from each other, learn how to adapt themselves, because what we are teaching today might not be relevant in the years to come with the advancement in technology and AI. I'm more concerned about the way the social fabric and the fabric of the family is changing. And earlier the schools only had the responsibility of imparting education and academic the knowledge, but now they have to, it's been said that it takes a village to raise a child. And I assume that in the lack of the social support system that the parents have, because they're far away from their roots, from their own cities, they have financial pressure, there is no safety net of a large family system, that the school needs to take on this role. And most of the children have digital nannies, whether there are tabs, whether there are gadgets. So what the school can do is to hear them, to give them space, and to love them and to accept them the way they are, and to let them know that life will be full of challenges and we need to adapt. That is very, very important. So I think our roles shift, like Dr. Shroff said earlier, from those of people who are just, like when I went to school, the teacher was on a higher pedestal. She was my sole source of information, knowledge, wisdom. But now times are different. So what they need to learn is adaptability, resilience, and even for the parents, to let them know that it's okay. I think most of the parents are living their own unfulfilled dreams and desires through their children.
A very nice point you said, ma'am. So if I can sum it up in one word, let the child live its childhood,
Yes.
right? The childhood has to be relished completely,
Yes.
right? So resilience and adaptability, two keywords from what you said.
Yes.
And you also said that you need to give space to the
Yes.
child, right? So that's what the most important thing, right? So when I talk about space, this was with Dr. Devyani from the Sanskriti group. So when we talk about space, I would relate space in two forms. physical space and mental space. Well, I'm just extrapolating what you said. I'll take the next question to Dr. Meghe,
Thank you.
director of the Abha Group, the Meghe Group, right? Abha Meghe ji. So, two spaces, mental space and physical space. So, physical space is a very, very simple thing. I will term it infrastructure, right? I'll term it infrastructure, right? For a want of a word, we'll call it infrastructure. And the mental space is the space of the mind, right? In the given circumstances, wherein the income is limited, the wants are unlimited, two kind of spaces to be created, a physical space and a mental space. How should schools go about it?
Good afternoon. First this topic, the ROI, it's not, that means in initial stage when we were in the school, ROI was not there in the education because the education was a charity. But coming to the everything is investment and return on the investment, definitely every parent is investing for the education. And that's why this ROI comes in the school education or any education nowadays. Looking towards the physical and mental space, definitely, first we need to see the mental space of every individual because as per the need of individual child, teacher has to change the pedagogy and teacher has to satisfy, teacher has to upgrade that particular child as per his or her need and bring up to the certain stage. So satisfying their need of education because nowadays the special education is also required in all the schools. Special educators we are appointing in the school, that's the extra we are doing because as definitely I have gone through the few pages of Dr. Shroff, it's rightly mentioned how the psychology is getting changed in the classroom. So, the individual child needs individual attention, that is a mental space which needs to satisfy by each teacher. So, and for satisfying that mental space, then the physical space comes. It is, when we are talking about the ROI, it is qualitative and the quantitative. The first is the qualitative, which I am talking about the individual mental space. So, satisfying the individual child, giving education, right education as per the learning space or learning capacity of each child, that is first the qualitative aspects of ROI and then comes to the quantitative. If my school is satisfying every child's need, definitely I'll get a number of students. I'll get, when I come to the income source, definitely the school, the parents will get the satisfaction, the parents are the best ambassador for the school and the school gets the admission, schools flourish and then the physical space comes into the picture because that interconnected. So,
Very nice, very nice.
I hope I have answered
Very nice.
properly.
So,
So,
Abhaji,
qualitative and quantitative is
Lovely.
very
So,
important.
Abhaji has bought into, notice both the aspects of qualitativeness and quantitativeness. What I also liked is if you are able to satisfy the child and thereby satisfy the parent, your ROI naturally gets satisfied, right? So, very, very well said, Abhaji. And I take this discussion forward to Dr. Brijesh Karia, CEO of the Singhania Quest Plus and also CEO of Singhania Group. आपके लिए technology based questions. You are now handling technology to a great extent, right? So today the huge amount of edtechs flourishing, right? आप कभी-कभी ऐसे conferences में आने में डर लगता है because there are at least 20 people who you have to first satisfy, then come into the room probably, right? And again, जाने के लिए मैं back door use करता हूँ. I never use the front door because you know that you get caught, then tomorrow onwards the calls will start coming in. In such a time, and each one of them are relevant, right? While I'm saying I use the back door, I'm not wanting to say that they're not relevant. They're absolutely relevant. Which one to pick? which one not to pick or which one to be left for this year. One. Two, the decision making is a difficult process. Two, even if you pick a particular product and you spend X amount of money from your total income that you earn from the school, how much of it really gets used, right? If you call the digital, if you recall the ICT in the classrooms, each and every school here would have had an ICT in the classroom. Dig out your data. Data would speak for itself. It will be a very stark, contrast. You would have not even used it to 13, 14, 15%. Big schools to maximum 20%. If there is any school which is used it for 25%, I'll stand and I'll give you a standing ovation. Right? So while that you spend a crore or 1.5 crore, you have 30 classrooms. Simple calculation, 30 classrooms into 1.25 lakhs for the smart boards.
Easy.
Right? 3 years they die out and you have to renovate them again. Right? If you go back to the FRC, they'll say disallowed. How do you really manage? What to take and what not to take? How do you decide that?
I think that's a fantastic question. Good afternoon, everyone. Couldn't hear you all. My problem is I'm a teacher by profession, and whenever I start, usually the answer is very loud. So let me try that one more time. Good afternoon, everyone.
So you either say a good afternoon, otherwise he'll make you do that left, right, center and all that.
Absolutely. All right, so just to answer your question, first quickly I'd like to talk to the educators that how it is important to understand the changing dynamics. Because education as it was 20 years back is not the case. Two case in point, one was COVID. COVID was a big jolt where we could see schools who were investing in tech, teachers were trained for tech, were able to transform overnight. But I've been to tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 towns of India and I've spoken to those principals. Some of them could not get online for 30 days, 45 days, 60 days because they never knew what tech is all about. Right? So that is one. And second is the NEP coming in. It talks about a very futuristic policy and yes, the Indian schools definitely do need a change. Right? So keeping these two scenarios in mind, it's very important that yes, we definitely start integrating tech, investing in tech. But then comes a very, very pertinent question, which one to pick? Very, very crucial and very, very nice question. I'd like to answer that. One is the tech of the future. Right? And that is where industry and academia marriage comes into picture. Any technology which has a practical use, for example, nowadays we are talking about artificial intelligence, data science, coding, robotics. I think that's a fantastic initiative wave happening in India. I'm seeing grade 3, 4, 5 children writing their own programs, building their own games, making their own apps. And you don't need to look at it as a technology because coding is just another language, right? So just to give you a small example, this is a wave which is coming across India. So anything that is futuristic, A. B, anything that will cut down the effort of your teachers. Because what is the biggest challenge that teachers are facing today? And that is paucity of time. Right? If I put myself in a teacher's shoe, I have to make a question paper, correct those question paper, do supervision, do extracurricular activities, manage the other things, my homework as well, my own children as well. So it's a tough job. So any tech that you bring in the school, if it is making your teacher's life simple, definitely it's very, very important. Third, you put it out very correctly, sir. It has to be monitored by data. In God, we all trust, but all others must bring data is what I firmly believe. Anything that is data oriented, anything that helps you make futuristic decisions based on data is a good technology to have. So that's one part of it. And second is the usage. The usage will only come with training. Because sometimes what has happened, I see a lack of synchronization between the management and the teachers. The management was extremely happy with the product, but the teachers don't know ABC about it because they've never been trained about it. So I think training is the key, and this is where I'm reminded of a conversation between the CEO and the CFO. I'm sure it's very common. The CFO says, what happens if I invest in my teachers and they run away? So the CEO says, very interesting answer. He says, what happens if you don't invest in them and they stay in your school? What will happen to your school?
That's a bigger risk than investment.
Absolutely. Actually. So the second part is the teacher training is very, very critical. So just to sum up my answer, industry, academia, marriage, data-based and teacher training. I think these are the three aspects. And one last statement I would like to make, please do not focus on short-term games for gaining, losing out on pedagogical approach because that compromise should never ever happen. Short-term financial gains should always be ruled out.
So don't go for short-term goals, go for long-term goals. Very, very simply and nicely said. And data-based, I should say, decision is what he said simply, right? Get into the data of what you have, what you need, and where do you want to go ahead with, right? And also to what level is your teacher ready to accept it? That's again one thing which he said very subtly, right? So if you may buy anything for your requirement, but then will your teacher really use it? If the teacher doesn't use it, it's a dead investment. And dead investment causes a lot of pain, right? I'm saying it to you because you'll not believe. We're very old into the system of, I should say, technology. We wanted to rephrase our ERPs. So went in for a, made to order ERP. It didn't work for us. We had to scrap it in a year. ERPs are not simple things, Huge amount of time, effort, and huge amount of money gets wasted into it. So be very specific of what you want to go in for. And then, as the other guys said here, like ma'am said, sir said, go with what the child gets satisfied with. Make the child live his fullest potential in school. Yeah. So this lady is the best part in the whole game, right? She has shown herself to me at least 5 times today. 3 times in the early times and 2 times now. I really like you for all these things, man. Thank you very much. So coming back to this topic here, one question I have for all educators here, right? Admissions are important portfolios in our ROIs, right? Today, we face a lot of problems to dummy schools. We lose out on to dummy schools. I'm sure you guys will also be facing the same problem. 11th, the 10th, the best of your 10th guys, the children, they kind of take a TC and just move out to a dummy school to end up somewhere in Kota for a coaching class. How are you going to face this situation in the next 3 years, 5 years to come? Have you ever thought about it? Would anybody like to give a 1-minute answer on this, please? Please, sir.
Thank you. My take on this is a big problem which almost every other school today is facing, specifically for +1 and +2. I firmly believe unless we all educationists come forward and say not for profit as a word which is with which the education industry is operating. On one side we are saying the 20 years before education was different and today's education is different, but unfortunately not for profit in the today's NEP is still there, which is a big problem for attracting the best possible talent, wherein if I have to pay a salary for the best physics teacher of a few crore rupees per annum, probably will not be possible for the conventional school, and hence the student will always prefer to run away from the school and they will prefer to attend some or the other, the big classroom wherein such set of the teachers are available. Unless the education institutes are not coming together and say together, not for profit is a word which is an outdated word and because of which the entire education industry is facing the problem. I believe on this, if you can give a take, that not for profit is really killing the formal education industry today.
Very, very well said, sir. In fact, the Haryana state has already come up and taken a call on this, and I think they are allowing, schools to make some, some level of surplus for their improvements. I hope the other states would follow soon on the same regard.
Anand, I would like to say.
Yeah.
Tomorrow is 5th. I belong to NISA. NISA stands for National Independent School Alliance. And this alliance is spread in 26 states with 67,000 schools. We have been working on reforms in education. We have gone to Ram Leela, and tomorrow we are at Jantra Mantra Chalo Delhi Dharna. And the 3 topics that we are touching tomorrow is one, that is regulation of coaching classes, very important. Second is we are talking about safety rule. In UP, a child dies and the principal is behind the bar. And the UP Federation worked together with 1-day token strike. They could bring the government and bring the principal back. The situation is, tomorrow we are in Delhi talking about the same issues. Safety regulations to the coaching classes, right? So we are working, there is an organization which is working. The only problem with us educator is, we think about the 5% of the schools which are within the fees of 30,000 to 1 lakh rupee. We don't think about the schools which are there with 10,000 to 25,000. Meghe is running a school which is with a lesser fees in the Gao Kheda. Right. And how do we run those schools with a budget category? We call it a budget category schools. The challenges are there, people are there.
We run a Delhi public school at 15,000 rupees per annum.
So what I'm saying, see, these are the people, and I respect you, sir. You made the right approach. Unless we come together on a common platform and be together, things will not work. And I would send you an invite through Anil that tomorrow we are there and we're continuously working for the reforms. And reforms can only bring a change in the community. And with the new education policy coming in and pedagogy changing, pedagogy is going to ask you to give a choice. Choice means expenses. And if you have expenses, where do you get the capital? So these are the issues.
Thank you, Mr. Mallik. Thank you very much. And I really thank all of you here for this patient hearing. Thank you, speakers, for such a beautiful session. And thank you, Education Today, for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can we have a round of applause for our moderator, please? I think he was fantastic.
Hello, check. That was a wonderful discussion and I'm sure we all enjoyed it. I would now request Mr. Anil Sharma to please join us on stage to felicitate all the panelists. Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen. That was a wonderful discussion and I'm sure we took back a lot from the same.